Local corruption stories seem isolated and anecdotal at first until you see them all together, and the sheer number of them suggest that maybe the noble-sounding goal of helping children might have given some of the most powerful players a sense of impunity, a kind of moral cover to corruption. You can almost picture them thinking, we can get away with anything. We help children. And of course, these are just the stories we know about. Sometimes local scandals start with something that sounds suspicious but not exactly illegal, like in the Pleasantville State takeover story.
In fact, the district has had 13 superintendents in the past 10 years.
13 superintendents in 10 years? Then a few weeks later, the U.S. attorney indicted not just one member, but 5 Pleasantville school board members for taking bribes.
According to the complaints, each of the public officials charged, including 5 members of the Pleasantville School Board, accepted payments from an undercover company set up by the FBI.
These officials were not as concerned about the education of our children and about their learning as they were lining their own pockets.
A Camden school worker realized someone was changing grades to make her school look like it was doing a better job.
So there were children who didn't have enough credits to be promoted, and yet they were on a list
to be promoted.
Correct.
Promoted. That's
and
accurate.
You saw this discrepancy.
Correct. I was told that my job would be in jeopardy if I talked about this. And in December of that same year, I was given a letter saying that I was to be demoted and transferred over my Christmas vacation. Everyone in the district saw that then they came down on me. So teachers feel a real fear that if they are approached or threatened or pressured, they're afraid to speak out.
How long have you been working for the district?
This is my 40th year.
Beverly Jones wasn't just considered a good history teacher in the Trenton Public Schools. In 2004, she was named the best American history teacher in the state. But then, in 2005,
I saw problems with the budget. I saw...
Like what?
Ghost salaries, phantom salaries, salaries for people who did not exist. One budget listed 10 teacher leaders' salaries. We only had 7 teacher leaders.
In another episode, Ms. Jones spoke up about a group of kids who'd passed the 9th grade, but were being held back just so a special repeater program could have a higher head count. So there were regular 10th grade kids who'd gone through 9th grade, everything was fine.
Yes.
And they were placed in a 9th grade repeater program, even though they completely passed the 9th grade.
Yes.
The state investigated, and guess what? Beverly Jones was not insubordinate. All of her claims were correct. Since then, she's received several awards for her willingness to stand up to the establishment. But in another way, this was not a happy ending. After all her troubles, this former New Jersey Teacher of the Year turned away from her 30 years in the classroom.
My colleagues are saying it too.
They're
just not saying it out loud. They tell me they have homes, they have children in college, they have mortgages, and they cannot afford to stand up to administration.
What is it they would say if we could somehow magically give them truth serum or something? What would they actually say to us?
They would say that the children are not the focus. Money is the focus. And what happens to the money, no one knows, because the money does not reach the classroom.
So when you bring it all down, the evidence is overwhelming that corruption is out there.
And not just out there, but rampant.
Rampant, pervasive, institutionalized.